everyone. We're going to take this opportunity to discuss how MRI processes lease renewals within the system. Actually, MRI has two ways of processing renewals. One is through what is called a renewal worksheet, and the other process is manual renewals. One thing that we want to make sure that you're aware of is that MRI does not allow past renewal dates in the system. So if you have a lease that expires the middle of November, you need to ensure that you're capturing those renewals before they expire, or they will term month to month. And then the renewal will not start until the next effective renewal date, which would be 12/15. So just keep that in mind. Renewals must be generated on a renewal worksheet in MRI, and we do this 90 days out. So if you're in January 2018, then your renewal worksheet will be generated for April. So when we run the lease renewal worksheet, that's going to capture all expiring leases in the month of April. You generate the worksheet so that if you do not renew a lease and it terms month to month, the renewal worksheet is the only way that MRI actually understands that lease is terming month to month. So keep that in mind. If you do not put them in a renewal worksheet, then they will not be termed month to month and charged accordingly. With that said, we're going to take a look at the renewal worksheet process. This is the process in which everyone should be functioning on site. On certain occasions, you may find it necessary to do a manual renewal, and we're going to take a look at that after we've gone through the renewal worksheet process. Again, remember, MRI does not allow us to process renewals in the past. So if you had a lease expiring, say in November or December, and we're now in January, it's going to look to the next available lease renewal date to start that lease. So with that said, let's go take a look at how we run the renewal worksheet. To access the renewal worksheet, you'll go to your main menu and you'll go over to Residents, Renewal Worksheet. When you come into the renewal worksheet, it'll be blank and it's going to ask you to populate some of the runtime options in order to get your data input into the lease renewal worksheet. So if we're in January and we're processing all renewals out 90 days, then we're going to enter a lease expiring period for April 2018. Now, once you've done that, there are other options. So if you are constantly maintaining your lease renewal worksheet, you will not necessarily need to include previously expired leases. Include previously expired leases basically means to us bring in those that are month to month. So if you've done this every month on the 15th when the lease renewal worksheets are done, you don't necessarily need to include previously expired leases or month-to-month leases. If you're a new property on MRI or we've just acquired you, until your process has been ran 2 or 3 times, you may want to include previously expired leases so that always brings your month-to-month tenants or residents into the lease renewal worksheet. So today I'll just include those. Include residents on notice to vacate. Now, you can elect to include residents on notice to vacate, and the simple reason why we might do that is because if they've given notice and they rescind their notice to vacate, they will be in the renewals in process. So just as a good housekeeping measure, it's probably a good idea to include your residents on notice. If they actually vacate, there's no harm, there's no foul, but they will be there in the event that their notice is rescinded. Hide non-rent charges. just says, hey, all I want to work with, I don't care about their garage charges, their short-term fees. I don't care about their utility recurring charges. I could hide those non-rent charges so that all that I see on the renewal worksheet to work with is their rent charges. I don't recommend doing that just for the simple fact that you may want to make revisions to those charges. So with that said, just to go back and look at the lease expiring period, we run this by period and it picks up all expiring leases, whether it's on the 1st, the 3rd, 15th, etc., as long as you have mid-month expiring leases. There is lease expiring in a date range, but we don't particularly use that functionality. We just use leases expiring in a period. Once you've set your runtime options to get what you need, you'll just click the load. After the system goes out and looks and identifies those expiring leases, it's going to bring those expiring leases into the system. And as you can see here, it does bring in all non-rent charges. For example, the garage. In this example, their monthly recurring garage charge. And you can see the amount that they're currently paying, what the market rate is, and at this moment, a hyperlink that allows you to work with this renewal and their rates. Below the renewal worksheet is a couple of hyperlinks that you can select. You can click on set to market or current. So if you click on set to current, you have some options, some runtime options, set renewal amounts to the market rent. So if you just want to bring everybody up in this at this one time, everyone's renewals to market rents, you can leave that selected. If you want to leave them at their current rates, you can actually set it to current and then click apply. Increase. When you're in increase, you could say apply increases to all, which is all charges, at a or by a flat amount or to a percent. If you're going to use this global increase worksheet, you can also select specific charges. So I wouldn't say all charges, but I would say rent. So if everyone in this renewal, say it's going to get a $20 increase, you could say increase that amount, whether it's a 6-month term, a 12 or 13-month term. Everybody in this renewal worksheet will be increased by $20. Or if you're not going to use a flat amount, you can say everyone gets a 10% increase. We don't really use exclude all because we don't really want to exclude anyone from the renewal process. And the only time that you would want to exclude someone may be because it's an employee unit, a model unit, or a courtesy officer unit or something to that nature. And you would actually just exclude them before you ran any increase modules. So with that said, if you and your regional property manager have discussed what your renewal efforts are going to be for the next 90 days, and in this scenario, let's say that everyone on a 6-month lease term gets a $20 rent increase, but everyone on a 12 or 13-month lease term will only get a $10 increase. You can go in and set those proposed, and the renewal worksheet is basically a proposal of your renewal efforts and your increases that you anticipate on getting. You'll just go into each record for the renewal amount, and it's going to generate your lease terms that are available to you. So right now it just defaults what the market rent is, and you have an opportunity to go in and actually enter the amounts that you want to increase or decrease those to. So in this example, and I'll just bring this over here, the 12-month term, we said that we were going to increase them by $10. So what we will do is go in, and the current rate for this unit is $515. So we're going to increase that to $525. So we'll leave that alone. We're not offering any 3-month terms for this property. 6-month term is actually going to get increased by $20. So their new renewal rate will be $535. Now, if you do not have a renewal term in your system that is reflective of what you offer on your property, just let us know so that we can go in and build the appropriate terms in your lease term worksheet. Now, this is probably not a very good example here because the market rents are $525. So another example would be, let's say that the 12-month terms only get a $5 increase. So that would go up to $520. And a 6-month term, let's say, is a $10 increase. So that would put that to market rent. So in this example, the market and the month-to-month remain the same. On this property, we would probably want to look at doing a market rent increase, but I digress on that. These are just examples, and this is a sample database. So once you've worked out what the new renewal amounts are going to be for this specific record, then we'll hit save. And then we're able to go down and we're going to take a look at Angela Grilla's account. Her current amount is $545, but the market rent is at $525. So she's already above market. We don't want the system to take her down or decrease her amount. So we're going to have to go in and set her renewal options. We don't offer a 3-month lease. Just like that. Once we've made the adjustments to these accounts, we will save our work. And again, we'll go to the next record, Leona. See, she's at $545. The market is at $525. In this particular example, if you run into things like this, we need to talk to your regional property manager and talk about a market rent increase at your property so that we can get things more in line with the demographics at your property. So again, we're going to need to correct the renewal amount. We don't want to issue a decrease. We do not offer a 3-month lease or a 7 nor 9. And we'll get that month-to-month rate in there as well and click save. Now for Mary Summers, her rent is at $525. Her renewal rate is at $525. We don't want to make any proposals here. So once we've gone through, whether it's loading up through the functionalities to look at your renewal worksheet and process a certain amount on each of these units, through any of the modules as a way to set to market or current, or whether you're using the global increase worksheet, or doing it manually. Once you've got the information set the way you need it, what we're going to do is save our work. And we're going to print the worksheet. So we'll actually print this renewal worksheet. We will not commit this renewal worksheet at this time. We've saved it. We're printing the renewal worksheet. And what will happen is once this renewal worksheet is complete, we are going to email it on the 15th, which is our due date, to your regional property manager for approvals. So once the renewal worksheet has generated its report, then you'll go in and you'll just click on the email report. And you'll put in your regional property manager's email address. You'll put in a quick message to your regional property manager to please review. I'll just put that in there. Please review for approvals or edits. And you'll just change the attachment type to a PDF. Then you'll email this report out to your regional property manager, and you'll wait to hear back from your regional property manager. Now your regional property manager will say, hey, this is approved. Proceed with committing your renewal worksheet. Or I would like for you to make some adjustments. So if there's adjustments to be made, you'll just go back into your renewal worksheet through your menu, renewal worksheet, and the renewal worksheet that you had previously worked on is available to you to make those edits, whether she would like to see perhaps maybe because of occupancy issues or something, that Angela and Leona not be set to their current rates at $545. Let's say that she feels that it's more beneficial to have them at the same market rent as everybody else. You still have a chance to go in and make your revisions to your worksheet. Now, these are just examples. I don't know that this would ever happen, but the point of this review is to show you that until you commit this renewal worksheet, you have the opportunity to go back in and make adjustments to those proposed renewal amounts before you commit it to the system. Once you've made those changes within MRI on this renewal worksheet, you'll save the worksheet again. You've made the changes that were requested of you through your regional property manager. And now you'll commit it. Now, if you're using the letters that are built into the lease renewal worksheet, I would ask you at this point in time to actually use a custom letter that you create yourself for your property. The reason I say that is the renewal letters that are built into MRI at this time are not property specific, very kind of bland, as I'll show you here. Not very exciting. Now you can export this. If you like the language, you can use it. Include your logo to this. You can print these out and include print them off on letterhead, etc., and send these out to your residents. If you don't like the renewal language, then basically what you'll do is create your own renewal letter and utilize that. If you're going to use the letters, then you're going to need to use the letters before you commit. So once you've ran your letters, then you're ready to commit these renewals. The system will prompt you that if you plan to print the renewal worksheet or letters, be aware that once you commit the changes, you cannot access this renewal worksheet with these same people to go back and print the worksheet or the letters. So always print your worksheet before you commit. If you're using the letters in the system, always print your letters before you commit. Once you're prepared to commit the changes, you'll just click on OK. Those lease renewals are now out of your worksheet. You can never recall them back into your worksheet. And where they appear is now what's called renewals in process. Now, you can get to renewals in process from two ways, either through your main menu under residence or through your property manager dashboard, open renewals. So open renewals on your property manager dashboard is the same thing as renewals in process. So let's just say that Leona accepted a renewal based on the letters that you sent out. You can access her renewal from your open renewals, or you can go into her renewals in process. So I'll click them on both ways to show you how they're both one and the same. If you go into renewals in process, you see that you've got Leona's account here. And if you go back to your property manager dashboard, open renewals, just brings you right back into renewals in process, and Leona's record is here. So let's say that she came in and decided that she's going to sign a 6-month lease term. So you'll just click on Leona's account, amend lease. This is where you will access that open active renewal. So you'll go into amend lease, renewals. Now this time there is an open active renewal and you'll click on accept. So if she's there and ready to sign her lease, we'll just go into accept. She has decided on the 6-month term, which is actually set at $545 at this time. But let's say that something happened when she came in. She negotiated not to be at $545, but at $540. As we stated before, on the lease renewal worksheet, it's only a proposed renewal amount. So if there's some, let's say, negotiations between you and the resident and say you're regional, corporate, and for some reason everyone's decided to reduce her rent on this renewal, then all we have to do is on the term that she's decided to accept is go in and change that renewal amount. So you can make it $550. You can make it $525 if it's the market that we're going to put her at. So make sure that if there's any negotiations that term is updated. Once you've made that change to the renewal rent amount, what we're going to do is go down to the term signed or accepted. We'll say the 6-month term. The system's going to look at whatever you have embedded into the renewal amount. It's going to look at her lease expiration date. It will set the new lease renewal date. You want to choose who the leasing agent or specialist is. Then it's going to look at the 6-month term and automatically set your expiration date. All you have to do is commit that renewal. Once you've committed the renewal, you'll see at the bottom a little notice that says pending renewal, offer accepted. Now, if your system is tied to Blue Moon, it's at this point in time that you would click on print lease, and the system will kick you out into Blue Moon in order to start preparing that Blue Moon lease, where you'll send it out via e-signature, or if the resident is there that's going to sign it manually, you can just print off that renewal then. We do like for you where you can use the e-signature process. Some residents just really like to have that pen to paper, and if that's the case, it's not a problem. Print that out and allow them to sign it. Your renewal is done. And if we go back into the renewals in process, you will now see that Leona Haynes has accepted a 6-month term and then your accepted box is actually checked. That means that that renewal is done. And that's all there is in managing your lease renewals. Now, if we come up on an expiration date and the system sees that that lease renewal is not accepted in the system, it's automatically going to term it month to month, bill market rent, and charge them a month to month fee. So always keep in mind that you need to pay attention to your renewals in process and make sure that, if you have someone coming up for renewal, that you're looking at this and trying to get them in that office or get that e-signature, get this renewal accepted before that expiration date so that the system doesn't term them month to month and charge them. And then you're ending up having to make a lot of adjustments to their account for rents that went to market and month to month fees. Now, the secondary way of completing a renewal in the system is manual renewals. So if you have someone that was month to month that came in and was not part of the renewal, or for some reason they got kicked out of the renewal in process or the lease renewal worksheet, you could do a manual renewal, and that's simply by going into Select Resident. And let's see if we can, find someone that may have been expired without a renewal in process. So you'll just go into their account, you'll go to Amend Lease, Renewals, and you're going to add an offer. So these offers are actually created in the lease renewal worksheet, but if you've somehow missed a residence renewal, or if they got kicked out of the renewal worksheet, you can go in and manually add by clicking on Add Offer. And this one has, this account has a little issue. So let's see if I can build a lease term so that, let's say 365. No. Let's go 48. Nope. 24. I'm sorry. This is an account that has an issue with the recurring charges. So I'm just trying to build their recurring charge table so that we can show you how to do a renewal. So let's see. And then we can get down to what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. Let's see. Let's see if it'll let me do the renewal now. So add an offer. And then your renewal, now you've seen this from the renewal worksheet where we clicked on the individual's account and it just brought up the amend lease. This is the same thing, only it's going in the back way and doing it manually. So you'll just choose the leasing consultant, the leasing specialist, and the term. So at this point in time, there are no renewal terms in the system for this expiration because they weren't part of that renewal worksheet. So you have an opportunity to work with the amounts of the renewal increase that you're going to for this record now. So let's say that they came in and said that they're going to sign a 12-month lease, and we are going to increase them to $545 for the 12-month term. We'll set the rate for this 12-month term. Select the 12-month term in the renewal acceptance box. The system's going to look at the last previous expiration date, set the new renewal effective date to the first available date. 12 months out, their new lease expiration will expire 11/30, and we're going to commit that renewal. Once we've committed the renewal, you'll go up to print lease. And if you're tied to Blue Moon, that will put you out to Blue Moon. So it's never a good thing to go into Blue Moon, create a manual renewal, and then come back into MRI. It's always better to put the renewal in and then go out to Blue Moon. It saves you a few steps by the system looking at MRI for the available renewal information. So it's going to go out and it's going to look at the new rates, etc. So you'll set that in Blue Moon. And that really is all there is to processing your renewals. That's your renewal worksheets and also accomplishing a manual renewal. And we'd like to thank you for your participation today.